Hey guys, I guess I wanted to post a video. Somebody's like, hey, you got to post more videos. I was like, freaking YouTube. I'm on YouTube too much. Everybody got to cut back on YouTube, right? All right, so I guess I wanted to post like a quick video, like talking about like how I did this. Like I think it's really intriguing to some people, and I want to, get a few things out of it real quick. Like, I am a genius, right? But everybody's a genius, And I learned this with working with the Women's League. I worked with the Women's League, which is also called McCore, and I worked with special needs for a while. And especially during COVID, it was very difficult. We lost like a few people. Actually, yeah, we had more than a few, like to COVID, and it was difficult. Being in the hospital with these guys, and sometimes you might be the last person that they see because they weren't letting anybody up into the hospital back then, So that was like working with special needs. And then you realize that the term special needs is kind of a relative term. Like, everybody's kind of special in their own way. And that it kind of started to click for me. It just kind of made sense, I don't think it has anything with my Southern heritage or anything like that. Like, I'm just being a nice person. I think there's nice people everywhere. Now, I do think that people in the South are a lot more courteous, and I'm proud of being from the South. I love New York. I consider myself a New Yorker, but I've lived everywhere. I've been all over, and I think people know that now. Lived all over, been on the streets, been in multiple different shelters in South Central Los Angeles. I was in LA. I was in LA film school and living in a shelter, and I believe I was in two different shelters 3 different times, because I went back to the shelter one time and I didn't have a place one time. But other than that, in LA, it was kind of like the life, because at the time I dated a girl that we went Airbnb hopping from mansion to mansion, throughout the canyons, all the way up to Calabasas. And there were some sweet ass cribs, man. Some of those people I still keep up with, and they're still cool, and I see them whenever I go back to LA. Just the owners of those houses were so proud of their homes. They didn't need the money. They just liked to do Airbnb and meet new people, and people could enjoy their homes. But how did I do this? How did I come up with this equation? I'm actually naturally horribly at math. I'm very, very severely dyslexic. I was the first person in my I believe my elementary school, or even the whole county, the schools. I was born in Hickory, North Carolina. So I was, at the time when they diagnosed me with dyslexia, I think I was in the 2nd or 3rd grade, and this was 1983. So nobody really heard of it. They said, he has it. What? Delulu? They thought it was some type of cancer, But I was always really a fuck up in school, man. Either plus I was so small. I was the smallest guy in my class always. I got a growth spurt when I was about maybe 17 or 18, and I shot up to about 6'1" that I am now, just overnight. But I was always the smallest kid in school. So in my mind, I'm always the smallest guy, which keeps me humble, at least I think so. But my father was always brilliant at math. My father was the first black man to get offered a scholarship to CVCC, which is a technical college in Hickory, North Carolina. So he was the first black man to get a scholarship right after desegregation. So his shit was kind of hot, people knew that he was smart, but he didn't take it because of his religious convictions. So when I want to say probably about 10 or 11, I was designing airplanes. Aerospace was my thing. And I was like, man, maybe I could work at NASA one day. Maybe I'll work at the Air Force, maybe I could work for Skunk Works, it'd be cool. So what I did is I kept drawing, kept designs, and I made 5 different designs, and I sent them to NASA. So when I sent them to NASA, I called the lady, I called NASA. The lady answers. I told her where I was, what my name was. I told her what I'd done. I had sent them a letter, and she put me on hold. And then this guy got on the phone and he said, yeah, Jared, we got your designs. You designed a ramjet motor. That's one of the greatest feelings I ever had. I didn't write the guy's name down. I should have. I'm so bad with names sometimes. But yeah, like that's one of the greatest feelings I've ever felt. You know, some type of validation for your work. Everybody wants to be validated. So my dad told me one day, and you know, I wasn't always Jewish. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So my father comes up to me one day and he says, you know, Jay, and by then I had like a little club in school, like me and a few of the guys were all like trying to draw Airwolf and draw Firefox, and you know, I've got my designs, and I've got an airfoil program on the Apple II computer so that I can, you know, I can draw my planes to spec. You know, every inch on every airplane is like accounted for. Is this not arbitrary? You know, the numbers that I would put out for my designs. So my father kind of talked me out of it because he says, well, these planes are going to be used as weapons. You know, they're high performance. So like, what are you doing, Jared? So man, that kind of took the wind underneath myself. Like I really threw myself into hip hop really big, and girls, and that was it for me. But all my life I had something calling me in the back of my head. Like every time I was at the magazine shop or get online for the rest of my life, I was always looking up to see what was Lockheed doing. What were they doing? What's the new, you know, what new gadget do they have out? You know, what's going to surpass the SR-71 and all this kind of stuff. So I guess I was really never myself. Like I wasn't really doing what I really wanted to do. And I knew that all my life. I knew it. I knew 100%. So, you know, fast forward, you know, years, you know, live, I've you know, had multiple businesses. I got 2 babies, mamas, 2 daughters. You know, so my parents are still pretty cool. I'm closer to my father now. I want to say I probably hated my father growing up, you know, just because it was just, he expected me to have his brain, and he was so well known within Catawba County. Like he worked at the sheriff's office and stuff like that. So it's like all the cops in town knew me and knew my father, you know. I think everybody was expecting me to be as big as him, and I have this big ass head, these dimples and stuff, and I'm just, you know, I'm into different stuff, you know. So I guess that's how I did it, you know, kind of not being afraid, and I finally gave in, even like stand-up comedy and writing scripts. Like I was so good at writing scripts. Like I got a manager, I think 6 months into stand-up comedy. I won't say his name, but eventually you'll find out who he was. He's a very big comedian. But he believed in my scripts, and I traveled so hard, and I put myself in harm's way probably 100% because I believed that I was going to become some type of big shot star and make enough money at the time. Because at the time I was in love with this singer that I believe lives in Manhattan or lives in Jersey or either LA. Oh, whew. So, I think I hit like a wall, and I had gotten not really hit a wall, but I'll tell you the story before I hit the wall. Is what happened is I had got back from LA about 5 years ago, and I had a Netflix deal. Had a Netflix deal with a guy that had a distribution deal with Netflix, a production company, and I had that canceled. And I came back to LA, and I came back to New York, and I was going to go ahead and start a new TV network. So me and a buddy of mine that recently passed away, I just found out recently passed away, that went to LA Film School, and a few of the professors at LA Film School helped me put a pitch deck together to launch a TV network. And I went to launch the TV network, and I got funded. I had one of the, but it was the flagship character or the flagship intellectual property movie. It was going to be a movie and a cartoon and stuff like that. He brought me an investor, and the investor was pretty much like, okay, whatever you want, you got. I believe in what you're kind of trying to do and all this kind of stuff. So the guy that brought me the investor, I had already had a contract with in the network contract, and he started acting funny style on me. He said something to me one day, and I was just like, nah, I just never called him back. So I kind of walked away from it. So, and I've done that before. I've walked away from, I have businesses right now in Atlanta and businesses in Brooklyn. I just walk away from. If I don't get along with you, and I feel like I don't want to be, if I feel like I want to fight you sometimes or something like that, or like